All right. Hello, YouTube. I'm here with another video. Oh my God, I can't speak. Video today, and as you can see, we're not on Roblox. I'm in YouTube right now, and since Halloween is slowly creeping in, I decided to do at least one video. If I'm not gonna post any, but at least the one Halloween involved video. So today we're going to be reacting to three three different animated horror stories. I'll have the stories linked below so you can watch them yourself at your own time. So I have little tabs here, but if you haven't already and you clicked on this video, I appreciate it a lot, and I'd appreciate it a lot if you also subscribed and liked too. And I don't want to type too much, so we're just gonna click full screen. Loading. Hope you are having a great day, and comment down below if you can what you're gonna be for Halloween if you're gonna dress up. But let's react to the first one, which is called Creepy Neighbor Horror Story Animated. So yes, let's go.
This happened in 2009. We would fly from our home state in California to Minnesota to visit my father's family for the summer. I've always enjoyed it there because of the nature and peaceful atmosphere. My father's family lived far from the nearest town, and he only had 2 neighbors. My only friend there was a girl who lived next door. Let's call her Morgan. She's around my age, and me, my sister, and her would always play from sunrise to sunset. One day at around 4 p.m., we were outside playing badminton. My sister hit the birdie too hard, and it landed in the next door neighbor's yard. Morgan said she had more inside her house and went to get them. I felt uncomfortable leaving it there, so I told my sister I'll go get it myself. She told me not to do it and just wait for Morgan. While my sister was fixing the net, I decided to run and get it real quick. As I was about to enter the gate, my sister grabbed me from behind and began telling me how much of a bad idea it was. That's when an old man came out from behind the house. He picked up the birdie and said, "Is this yours?" I said yes and asked if I could have it back.
Scared.
He said he had his grandchildren's old toys upstairs and asked if we wanted to have them. Me and my sister were very young at the time, and we thought as he lived so close and he looked like a typical sweet grandfather, what's the worst that could happen? So we agreed and entered through the back door.
Oh boy.
The first thing I noticed was the stench. It smelled of damp and rotting food. I shrugged it off at the time since he was old. Maybe he lived alone. We heard Morgan calling our names, and we politely told the old man that we had to go and maybe we'd return tomorrow. Morgan saw us through the window and immediately asked what we were doing there. I answered, "The sweet old man," and she cut me off and said that the house was abandoned since she moved there. I thought she was just playing around with me and told her to cut it out. She had a blank expression, and that's when I knew that she was serious. We never told anyone because we didn't want to cause any trouble. But now that I'm older, I wonder if it was some ghost or creepy old man luring kids into that house. The house got demolished recently, which is why I wanted to share this story.
Wow. That was very cool story. Okay. That was a good story. The first one was very cool. I like it. I like creepy stuff in my opinion. I like very creepy stuff, but we are going to move on to the next horror story. Okay, let's go. Okay, we're in the next one. This one is called A Creepy Christmas Time Story Animated. Again, I will have these videos that I'm reacting to down in the description below. Yes, I will. um, and comment down below if you like horror, because I know I do. But just said that, but yeah, let's react to it. For Halloween, but it's still creepy.
It was November of 2006. I was a 16-year-old kid living in the town of Altoona, Iowa. I went to bed early one night because I had to work the early shift at McDonald's. As I slept, I had a dream that I was running through downtown Des Moines, but I wasn't on a jog. I was running from something. As I ran around the corner of a building, I came face to face with my pursuer. A tall man wearing a trench coat and a top hat stood in front of me. The only thing visible of his face was his eyes. They were abnormally large with black pupils, and it looked at me as if it wanted something. After what felt like hours, he reached out his bony hand, as if he wanted me to go with him. I woke up violently from my dream, and after catching my breath, I peered around my room to see if I was safe. As I stood up from my bed, I noticed that I could see my breath. Feeling confused, I checked my window. It was latched shut. I then walked over and checked my vent. I could still feel warm air coming from it. As I sat back down on my bed, I tried to figure out what exactly was going on. That's when the figure from my dream appeared at the foot of my bed.
Oh no,
I scrambled back to my headboard. "What do you want?" I asked, trying to hide the shakiness in my voice. With the same bony finger, it pointed at me. Growing up in a religious home, I believed what I was looking at was a demon. I told the creature to leave. It just waved its finger at me, and with a low voice, it spoke to me. "Never leave. Always here." The creature then screamed loudly and disappeared. A feeling of nausea came over me, and I vomited on my floor. The last thing I remember was cleaning myself up and waking up to my alarm. It's been about a month since I had seen the top hat wearing man in my bedroom. The Christmas season was in full effect. My parents weren't home because they got invited to some kind of event, so it was only me and my 3 sisters at home. I had to wake up early in the morning for work, so I decided to go to sleep. I rested my head on my pillow and closed my eyes. Not even 30 seconds passed until my sisters burst into my room and started singing obnoxious songs. This of course made me very angry, but I thought if I ignored them that they would leave me alone. This was not the case. As I pulled the blankets over my head, I started to feel the same cold feeling that I had in November. As the obnoxious singing subsided, I lowered the blanket below my eyes and saw the man standing in the corner of my room.
Oh dear goodness,
In
no.
one swift motion, he charged towards me, and I blacked out. When I finally came to, I found that my sisters had locked themselves inside the bathroom.
Just left him
As I knocked on the door, they told me to go away.
Let's run for
I
our
asked them what happened, and all they could say was Mom and Dad were on their way home.
Ooh,
I looked down and
Blood?
saw that my hand was slightly bloody. Holes were in the bathroom door, and a broom was sticking out of the wall. I then walked into the living room and found that there were knives stuck into the wall as well. The same wave of nausea passed over me, just like in November, and I threw up again. As I was cleaning up, my parents walked through the door. My father immediately walked over to me and gave me a good beating. Then he sent me to my room.
Oh, no.
I went to bed crying. Not from the beating. I was crying because of the confusion. I had no idea what was going on. The next morning, my sisters reluctantly sat next to me and told me what had happened. They said I got angry and chased them down and tried to hurt them. They said my eyes were red to the point where they thought I was bleeding from them.
Ooh.
They said I sounded like a different person. In 2011,
Demon.
that was the last time I saw the top hat wearing man. I just moved into a new apartment, and after a long, stressful day of unpacking, I took a shower and got ready for bed. As I started to drift off, I could feel that cold feeling again.
Oh no.
I lifted my head and saw the man standing in front of me.
Ooh.
The man's eyes were red now. With a low voice, just like on that November night, it looked at me and said, "Never
That's not what you would like to hear. Okay. Okay, that was the second story. I liked that one. That was very creepy. And like definitely creepy though. I could imagine how horrible that was. And then you just hear your like siblings tell you something else. That would be very creepy. But let's move on to the final last one. So I'll see you in the next one. Oh, whoa. Okay, we're on the next one as you can see. And this one is called Home Invasion Horror Story Animated. Um Nothing else to say. I don't have a script and my mind does not flow once I start recording, which is okay. This one is 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Comment down below, since this is the last one, comment down below which one you liked if you're watching this, and also thank you for clicking this video. If you like to subscribe, it's a lot. And yeah, let's go ahead and watch.
It was a cold, foggy evening when I contacted a close friend of mine to stay at my place for the night. Both of us were only 10 years old at the time, and my parents were often at work until midnight, so I was usually alone with nothing to do except watching a television show or reading a book. My friend Alex had agreed to come over and brought a game of Monopoly to pass some of the time. I also asked if he was interested in going to explore an abandoned subway station 3 miles away. He seemed excited at first, so we planned to go on the trip in the morning. I remembered that the subway dated back to the mid-1920s and became abandoned in 1932 after the market crash in 1929. I was very fascinated about its history, but never got the chance to go inside after my parents had warned me not to enter. As I quietly slept in my bed, I heard what sounded like a gunshot coming from the forest behind the house. Both of us woke up, frightened after what we had heard, and I told my friend not to worry as hunters tend to go into the forest on frequent occasions, but when I checked the time, it was 11:39 p.m. This seemed very unusual as hunters only came into the forest between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. I looked at Alex and decided to get out of my bed, intending to look through the window and spot for anyone in the forest. The darkness clouded my vision, so I was unable to see anyone in the forest. I turned around and looked at Alex again, when suddenly I heard the front door squeak open. Chills went down my spine. Both of us quietly moved to the bathroom, locked the door, and kept the light off. It was the only safe place in the house. Both of us were terrified as we desperately tried to keep as calm as we could. We heard footsteps getting louder and louder until they stopped in front of the bathroom door.
Oh no.
And then this is when the most terrifying sound forced my heart to almost burst. Both of us screamed as the person chopped the door to pieces. It was pitch black inside the room, making it hard to find the vent, and by the time I spotted the vent, the person behind the door had made a hole big enough for us to see him.
Oh no.
The man adorned black leather and was wearing a plague doctor mask. I scurried back to the vent, but it was too high above the floor for us to reach it, so Alex told me to go first because he was the strongest. He lifted me up on his shoulders, allowing me to open the vent and crawl inside. When I looked at the door again, the man had managed to fit his arm through the hole and reached for the lock. I quickly grabbed Alex's hand, but struggled to pull him up into the vent.
Alex!
I shouted, and began going after him. I pursued the figure until I was led to the abandoned subway deep within the forest. It was chilly and foggy, meaning that I could only see objects within a range of 5 or 6 yards. Inside the subway was a pool of freezing cold water. It was so dark that I couldn't see anything. I had to rely on listening to the screams from Alex and track the source. As I slowly walked through the subway, I was now struggling to breathe under the intense stress and fear of the situation. I called, but there was no response. I continued walking through the water until the exit was no longer visible. I was now experiencing a massive panic attack. I had lost track of Alex, and I had no idea where I was or how to get out. Where are you, Alex?
Over here. Wow. Oh, that's sad. Ooh. Wow. Okay, that was a very interesting story. A little sad at the end, but yeah, this is the last story for today's video. Um, if you remember to, I'm sorry. Remember to like and definitely subscribe. I plan to start posting on Wednesdays. I'm not sure if I'm gonna stick with that though, but I plan to because I want to post more. But I've been too busy, which has been like what I've been saying. But I'm sorry about that. But I'll try my best. um, I hope you have a great day. Um, great Halloween. Be careful on Halloween day too with this month. And yeah, see you in my next video.